Hey, what is going on? This is your daily stimulus check update information. Good news for a lot of the states out there. They're sending out stimulus checks. So if you haven't done so already, if you're in a state that's going to be getting a check, I'm going to cover some of the states that are happening right now. Every state in the United States has received stimulus money, but a lot of them haven't really created their programs yet of when they're going to be sending out stimulus. So that's something that they're going to be coming down the road over the course of the next couple of weeks. There is a giant $3.5 trillion budget plan that's set up for, this is something the House of Representatives had set up in Congress. Nancy Pelosi has that set up, and she's going to try to get that budget plan done. And I think inside of that budget plan is going to be the American Families Plan that President Biden has put together. That is going to be the program where the American Families Plan is going to extend out a lot of the programs. It might extend out on the unemployment. It might extend out the child tax credit through 2025, and possibly maybe getting some type of reoccurring payment set up. They haven't really discussed that, but I think that's coming down the road. Also, the Federal Reserve has their own FedNow stable coin that's going to be coming down the road. That's something that Jerome Powell has mentioned that he's going to be creating that and get that going. But for right now, California is the only state in the United States that's sending out actual stimulus checks, and those are going out this week. There's going to be $600 payments for anybody that qualified. If you received a stimulus check of $1,400, then you're automatically going to be receiving one for California, as long as you file your returns with the local state, because this is the state treasury that's sending out these checks. This isn't the federal government. This is the individual state. So you have to actually live in California, and you have to obviously live there for 6 months, but you have to file your returns with the Franchise Tax Board in California. So that's good news. It's the Golden State Stimulus. I personally think it's great for other states because I think some of the other governors that have that money sitting in the Treasury, they can look at California and see what they're doing, and then possibly do the same thing. One of the good things about California is that you don't necessarily need a Social Security number. An ITIN number is also available. If you have that, you can pick up this stimulus check. If you have an ITIN number, I think you're going to be getting close to $1,000 or $1,100 with a dependent. So that's definitely good news for those in California, because I think a lot of people are undocumented. They're not here, as far as Americans, but they do have an ITIN number, and they are paying some taxes in California. So good news for those in California that do have an ITIN number. But the other states are also stepping up and sending out some stimulus checks. A lot of different cities in Texas are sending out stimulus checks. So you have Irvine as one of the big cities in that state. $2,000 payments going out to teachers to try to get them to come back to the classroom. So you have a lot of these states that are starting to ramp up their stimulus programs. A lot of the programs, you have these Delta variants that there's coming up. Some of these governors are even talking about shutting down the economies again to try to combat this new Delta variant. If they do that, that's going to put a lot of pressure on businesses. It's going to put a lot of pressure on people in that area. But it's good news for a lot of the teachers. I still think that they should be targeting other people. But this is really all these states have been set up. They're just sending out $1,000 checks to teachers. Michigan, same thing, $500 hazard pay to teachers. Tennessee, so one of the states, $1,000 checks to teachers. Georgia's another big state, sending out $1,000 to teachers and administrators. Florida, these $1,000 checks are going out to teachers and administrators. But Florida is also sending out checks to EMT, firefighters, police in that state. So I like what Florida's doing. I personally think some of these states should send out their own stimulus. I mean, they have this money sitting there ready to go from the federal government. They should turn around and get that money out to everybody. New York, $2.1 billion fund for undocumented workers. New Mexico is sending out $740 checks to about 4,000 people in that state. And then Maryland looks like $500 for families, $300 for individuals. Colorado sent out another check, $375 in the state of Colorado for those. I think is at least one unemployment payment from those dates. And then obviously you have California, which they're doing the right thing. They're sending out stimulus checks. But I think the monthly stimulus checks is coming down the road. This is something that Nancy Pelosi is probably going to be putting together in her new budget plan. So the infrastructure bill has already been passed in the Senate. This is something that is a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. It passed in the Senate. This is going to be getting more money out to jobs, trying to get people back to work. President Biden has two programs, and you'll probably notice on the TV that Nancy Pelosi talks about this Build Back Better Act or this Build Back Better program. President Biden has two plans. He has this American Jobs Plan. This is going to be the infrastructure set up, and then he has the $3.5 trillion, and this is going to be the American Families Plan. Now, the American Families Plan is going to extend out the child tax credit out through the year 2025, and then possibly get a fourth stimulus check, but maybe get a reoccurring payment. And this is what a lot of the economists are saying, that another check is needed. You have 56 House Democrats are pressing President Biden to get stimulus checks, and then you have some of the other Democrats in the House of Representatives. For example, Ilhan Omar, she set up a Support Act. Now, the Support Act is going to be something that, if they can get it passed, would actually be $1,200 per month for each U.S. adult earning under $75,000. That would be a monthly payment set up. This would be good news for definitely those that qualify for that. They're going to have to get this passed pretty quickly if they're going to do it. And this is something that there's a lot of pressure on Congress to make this happen. There is this big petition at change.org. It says this petition was launched by restaurant owner Stephanie Bonin last year, urges U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives to deliver legislation to support families with $2,000 payments for adults and $1,000 payments for kids immediately, and continued regular checks for the duration of the crisis. So close to 3 million people have signed this. If you haven't done so already, you can go to change.org, and I believe it's under $2,000 payments from Congress. If you just look for that, you'll see it. It's probably going to be one of the first ones that popped up. But what this is, it just puts a lot of attention on the fact that they need some type of reoccurring payment. This doesn't mean that Congress is going to do it, but at least it puts a lot of light on the situation to where people do need a monthly payment. Again, I think what's going to happen is the Federal Reserve is going to come out with that FedNow coin. It'll be a stable coin, and it'll be just a simple app they'll drop on your phone. The thing with the stable coin, though, is they might have some type of time limit on it. They're trying to get the circulation of money going. That's what the stimulus plan was all about, try to get money into people's hands and get them spending it. The thing what happened was the stimulus is that most of the people saved the money. Either that or they put it in the stock market where it's not really doing anything. If it goes in the stock market, it's not really doing much except it's just pumping up the stock market. They want to get people spending into the grocery stores and places like that. That's where the velocity of money going. And if they come out with this FedNow coin, this is going to be something that might have a time limit on it. So they put money in there, $1,200, but they say, okay, you got 30 days to spend that money. They're going to try to do it, and at first it probably will succeed, but then eventually it won't work anymore after that, because they'll just continue to print so much money, and it'll just prices for everything is just going to go absolutely crazy, and it'll just take off and go, big. But that's something that President Biden hasn't really come out and said, yeah, we need monthly stimulus checks. But again, I think Nancy Pelosi and them are trying to sneak this in. The issue that they're having right now is that the Republicans don't really support a lot of these bills. They don't really support a lot of these giant budget bills. But they did support this bipartisan infrastructure bill. But the budget bill that's going to be coming up here that Nancy Pelosi and them are going to try to pass is going to be this huge, it's going to be a giant Democratic spending bill. And if they can sneak in a stimulus into this bill, that could be good. But they might have to sneak it in there, because if the Republicans see it, they're not going to want to vote on it. And that's why I think it's so big. And they're going to have to go through the debate. They're going to have to raise the debt ceiling again. They do this every 3 or 4 years. They go in, they ho-hum about debt ceiling, and then they all vote on the debt ceiling, they raise it, and then they pass this giant budget bill. Thing is, these budget bills are getting so big. I think if at some point they're going to have to say, okay, these are just way too big. We can't be creating these bills and then putting them out there. $3.5 trillion, that's huge. $1 trillion, we're close to $5 trillion in this budget bill. I mean, they already passed, I think, $7 or $8 trillion over the course of the last 2 years. During maybe it needed, who knows, but that's something that $5 trillion is just it's a huge amount of money. It's just I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I hope they do come out with some type of recurring payment to let people at least get some type of stimulus. I think the smart move would be that FedNow smart stable coin. That's something that they could sign off on that. They wouldn't have to go through banks. They wouldn't have to go through Congress. Feds would just drop that money right into your app, and you go out there and spend it into the economy. And that'd be good. We'll see if that works. But again, if your state's sending out stimulus checks, you definitely want to reach out to your treasury and try to see if you can't get your stimulus check in that state. And I'm going to keep you updated on any new states that come out with stimulus. If they're going to come out with a real stimulus program like California, I'll let you know on these videos. So just stay tuned. So if you have any questions, you can drop those in the comments below. This is your daily stimulus check updated information.